Hi, I'm Brad. My last video about the enemies of God will kind of continue with this one. I'm going to let you know what God is going to do about the enemy and has been doing. Okay. Now I covered, quite a few things about why God inflicted us with these genetic sins in our DNA to corrupt us, corrupt the flesh, so that he could gain knowledge through his people called prophets, Jesus, and saints. Through this age, this first age, the first generation of the flesh. There is going to be another generation of the flesh that follows this one. But first, God had to end the enemy. He's got to stop them. Basically kill them off. Okay. So that's why our flesh, our bodies have been dying for the past 6,000 years. So this is going to be about the end of this age, what happens during the end, and what happens after the end of this age. And so it's about paradise. It's about the new heaven and earth that's coming, and that's what this is all about. God created us for the next generation, not necessarily for this generation. But He just needed enough bodies this year to produce His prophets and Jesus and saints. So He needed them to, have all these grandparents, so to speak, and starting from Adam and Eve. So now that He's almost completed the knowledge part, we can end this age, and then we'll go into the next. So here's some things that are going to happen. As you know, the enemy is the flesh of God, flesh of man, I should say. And the law and the commandments are going to run out to the end of this age. And that condemns all flesh to death. The law and the commandments are the Word of God. It's the power of God that makes alive and kills. So everything is going to be destroyed when this end comes. Now there are lots of prophecies about the end times and about this destruction that's coming and paradise. Most of Isaiah, most of Ezekiel, and Zephaniah. There's a lot of Zechariah. All these, Micah and Daniel, and they're all talking about the end times and about the paradise is coming. Those things have to be spoken later on in one of us saints. Now a lot of them have been spoken through me and written about. And that's what He does with us saints. We're just a body. We're just a body that He uses for His purpose, to prophesy through, and then to interpret those prophecies later on when the timing is right. And the timing is right. The end is near. And there's a prophecy in Matthew 24, verse 14, that talks about the gospel will be preached to the world, and then the end will come. Well, Jesus spoke that prophecy. Well, now it's being fulfilled, because I'm here preaching the gospel, and then the end will come. And there's a prophecy in Revelation 6, verses 9 through 11, that talks about all the saints being killed before they take revenge on those who killed them. And those who killed them were the world, the beast. The beast is the sinful nature, the flesh. And it came from a strong religious experience through the Babylonians. They were the first ones to unite this thought, this religious thought into their minds, and it spread. And everybody's affected by this religious beast in their minds. And all sinners are. whether you're 1 year old or not. It's not because of what was said. It's just because of sin. It's because of the sin nature. Okay, and this beast though was the religious beast was the reason that most of the prophets were killed before Jesus came along, and then Jesus was killed by the beast that was in the Jewish mind and the Romans, because this had spread out through the Persians, the Greeks. Okay, they were also world rulers, and then Rome got it, and it became a real strong influence worldwide, this religious beast. So, and the Jews had it because they were captives of the Babylonians until the Persians defeated Babylonia. So they came home with this religious thought, and they changed the scriptures and everything. You know, not all. I mean, they changed it enough to benefit themselves. Is what they did. Benefit their preaching, and they made a lot of money doing it, and they got a lot of control doing it. You know, they could condemn people because now they were the, you know, they were the law, basically. They were thinking they were in between God and the other people, and that's what religions do. And now we see that in Christianity, because they got the beast in their mind through the Romans, who killed all the saints because they had the beast in their mind. They killed them all, and then they started the religion of Christianity. And of course God planned all this. He wanted all this deception, and it worked great. It worked perfectly to control everybody in the world and keep them, you know, deceived from the truth that He was using in the prophets, Jesus, and us saints. And all our flesh is no good. None of us. Even the saints who became sinless, we still have our memories that are tainted with sin. We still remember all the sinful acts we did. We can't have that go to paradise. So we have to die too in the flesh. Everything dies. Everything is destroyed. And I'll tell you about this destruction coming. By the way, I did do some tapes of this last summer of paradise, but since then I've gained a lot more knowledge, so I can be a little more thorough and a little more, hopefully, understood better, and so I can take it kind of one step at a time rather than try to ramble a whole bunch of pieces together for you. So God knew that there was a paradise coming, the new earth, you know, because He planned it all. And so this age, all He needed was the knowledge revealed in His people. And now that that's close, He's doing His last bit of knowledge through me. Unless there's another saint that comes along, I don't know. He doesn't give us that information. He doesn't tell us if we're going to run into another saint, or if we're going to, you know, what day this destruction is going to happen. He didn't give me the day when I'm going to be killed, because you know, all the saints have to be killed. So I don't know the day I'm going to be killed, but I will be killed. And it's by the world. Okay, one person's going to do it, but that's just a symbol, you know, that the world is against God, and because of the sin nature. So that is coming. Okay, when that comes, when I am killed, shortly after that, the earth is going to start shaking like crazy. I mean, violently, it says in the scriptures. Now I have a list of all the different scriptures, not all of them, but just enough to show that this was prophecy to come. And this shaking is going to happen. Now going back, we need to go back to understand this end. We need to go back to how God created this earth. Now there's even scriptures that tell how it was in Peter talked about it, of how this earth was put together? It's put together by water. Water and of course the minerals that were made from the atoms that were being formed by the heat, by the light energy within the core. Okay, this core got hot, and it just it went, it just made itself a ball of hot lava. It was nothing but hot lava, molten rock and water. That's all it was in the beginning. So when that cooled down finally, all the water, most of the water evaporated, of course, out into the outer space, atmosphere, and then this Earth started cooling down. So when it cooled down, it was level. That's what happens to anything that's liquid. Liquid like I'd say pancake dough. If you make pancakes thin enough, okay, it'll just flatten out. And then another thing that happens, you get all these little bubbles that come through. Well, they're holes in the pancake because the heat has to escape through that material. And that's what happened with the Earth's crust. You get all these cracks, little holes, cracks, all over the Earth, everywhere. And partly due to heat escaping and cracking when it shrinks. So there's all kinds of this, these cracks. Well, that was how the heat escaped from the magma in the Earth. That it kept a consistent heat within the Earth because it was letting out this hot. Well, then of course, then when most of the water, not most, but some of the water rained back down to the Earth, they filled these cracks. So you've got this steamy, hot, moist air coming out of these cracks and holes in the Earth. This was the climate. This was the climate of the Earth. And it was covered, the whole world was covered with this warm, moist air. So everything grew lush, like the wood in the Amazon area, some parts of Africa where it's in the equator area where they have lots of water and rain and stuff. Now it was lush. It was a lush garden all over the Earth, and climate was perfect. People didn't need to wear clothes in that climate because it's perfect. They don't today in those areas. They just wear a little belt or something like that. That's all they need because the temperature is perfect. So that's how the Earth formed. Okay, then of course eventually the different vegetation grew and the animals came. God formed the bodies for all these animals and even for the plants. He had to make the initial plants. The Word did, the power of the Word. And because the atoms obey the power of God. They obey them. So they just speak it into existence. And whatever they created will form to that specifications of God's plan. So everything was made that way. And but first, all the worlds had to be formed. Everything, the whole universe was put into play first to create all these forces to make sure that everything was in balance. Of course, we're going to be in balance because that's how God planned it. But then this earth that we live on was just right for us, right for His living people because of the water and the air that we needed to breathe. And it's exactly how He made it. This earth we didn't come along, because of the earth's environment and the water and stuff. We were planned. This earth was planned for us to survive in it. No, God did everything. He planned everything. There wasn't one thing He missed. He didn't miss one atom. Not one. So He's very, very thorough. So He got all this, this earth put together. Now, he knew he was going to end this earth. So what he had to do was wait till a certain time to have a flood, to cover the earth, and to, that the earth just totally moved with this flood, because the people have figured out, the scientists have figured out about how much water there is on this earth, and there's enough water if you have a level earth to cover about 8,700 feet deep in water. 8,700. That's getting close to 2 miles worth of water on top of the earth. So that's a lot of water, and that's a lot of pressure. So anything underneath gave away. The parts that gave away, the ocean bottoms. Of course, there's a lot of water underneath, so that came out. But then there was depressions that started. Once these depressions started, the water weight got more and more, and then it started pushing up in other places. So we got this imbalance of the crust, and that's where we got our mountains. That's how we got our oceans. Well, this was the time clock for the end, because it covered up most of the cracks of the earth. Now that we still have volcano areas in the mountains, we still have a lot of cracks and pools of hot water coming out of the ground, but not enough. That's just a tiny portion of what it used to be. So now we have all this heat building up inside the earth, and it builds pressure. The more heat you put in, something to contain it, the more pressure it builds. Now, I had a brand new pressure cooker that I bought for my wife a few years back, and she was cooking vegetables in it. Well, she comes screaming at me saying, "Oh, the thing's going to blow up, the thing's going to blow up." And I went out there to the kitchen, and this pot was shaking off the stove. Just shaking, the whole thing, up and down, rattling. And I thought it was going to blow up any second. So I went over and turned the heat off, and that thing kept rattling and bouncing around for 10 minutes afterwards, with no heat on it. That's how much pressure had been built inside that pressure cooker. So make sure your valves are clean when you use those things, because they're like a bomb, okay, ready to go off if that valve is turned off. So anyway, it finally cooled down. We got cleaned it up and stuff, but we haven't used pressure cooker since then. We haven't, because we don't trust it. So this is what's happening inside the earth. The heat is getting so hot inside that it has to escape. And with the pressure that's in there, it's when the timing is right. Now that I spoke the word to end this age, okay, over a year ago, and that was part of the deal. He speaks prophecies through me, and that is the power of God. The word, His word, is the power of God to make things happen. So this is the key. All right, this is the key that was needed to make this thing blow. And it's just something to do with timing. It's the way God planned it all out. I don't know exactly. I don't know the reasons why He has to use me to speak that, except that it is the power of the Word. Since I was created as the Word, the things I speak is the power. So, and then soon afterwards, after I'm dead, then this thing's going to start taking off. You're going to get violent shaking, and this is going to kill most people right away, especially in the cities. And people that live in the mountainous areas, things like that. People out in the valleys, you probably hang in there unless your house fell down on you. But this is, it's going to kill and destroy a lot of things in a hurry. Within an hour, most things will be destroyed. Okay? And then there'll be a lot of people that will be terrorized, of course. Very just totally messed up. They don't know what to do. They won't have anything to take with them if they do escape. So they'll be running out in the country, in the middle of the country. Some will be climbing mountains and thinking they can escape it. No, you can't escape it. This earth is going to be destroyed, because once this shaking gets started, then a whole series of things are coming. First, you're going to get the lava start shooting through the places where it's already shot through, and then there are going to be a lot of new cracks forming. You're going to get pieces just blowing right out of the crust, because this pressure has to come through. So wherever there's some weak areas, that's going to just blow right through. Eventually, the whole crust will be broken up by this exploding magma, and then it'll start, melting. Of course, the rest. Well, it'll melt it all. It'll get so hot, it'll just melt all the crust. Now, you don't think this is possible? There's enough heat inside the earth that'll melt rock in seconds. Just as soon as it touches it, it'll melt it. It'll melt anything in seconds. Anything man-made, it'll melt it. And even though it does, it'll go to the center of the earth anyway. This stuff will just float down inside because of the gravity suction that takes off. Okay, so anything like man-made metals and stuff like that can resist a lot of heat, that'll just get sucked in. Nothing's going to survive it. We're all going to get melted. Everything. We're all going to get turned back into the atoms of the lava. All the molecules, the water molecules, will go back into the water, and that's what's going to happen. So the end is when everything's melted and the last man has been killed. And that is the end of the Battle of Armageddon. The Battle of Armageddon was nothing more than the Word of God against the flesh of man. That's what it was. Now, I know there's lots of people saying there's going to be a battle in Israel. There's going to be an army against China is going to be against the Muslims, or whoever. It doesn't make any difference. All that is just deception that God put in these people's minds to keep them entertained while all this other stuff was going on with God. So don't even bother with that stuff. That Israel stuff, that's all just a deception. Okay, doesn't matter what happens there. What's the reality is this earth is going to be destroyed, and that's what's coming. That's the battle. That's how God's going to get rid of the enemy, our bodies, the flesh, and then it's over. Boom! This age is done. God got us knowledge that He wanted, and that's retained, by the way, in us. In the Word. The Word revealed all this knowledge during this age, and that is retained. It's not like memory in our brains. Okay, it's nothing like that. Now, when we wake up in the new bodies in the next age, it's not going to be like memories of what we did in the flesh and had families and friends. No, we're not going to remember any of that. This knowledge we have is the truth. The knowledge is going to let us know that who God is, what God is, and that's who we're going to wake up with. God. God is the truth. But He can guide us. You see, He can guide us without words. He can do that, and that's what He's going to do. But before we get there, let me tell you what happens to everybody that's died in this age. Okay? God created us as thoughts within Him. We've always been thoughts, and that's where we stay. We never go anywhere. We just use the bodies to experience our thoughts. The brain of our bodies processes these thoughts, and it makes our bodies function according to God's plans for us. And those plans in God's thoughts is our life. He planned our life in Him. And that's who we are. That's our created form. That's our created selves, is in God. And that's the invisible part of us. And we're everywhere. Wherever God is, we are. So that stays there. Our creation, our created person, life, stays with God while we get sucked into this lava, our flesh, and that disappears. Okay, we're going to disappear, like all the bodies before us. They've all, dissipated into the air and into the elements of the ground. Some of the preserved ones, well, they're going to get buried in the lava. They're going to burn up anyway. That preservation, that was basically so they don't stink. It would have been better off if it just would have burned everybody up. Because then you don't have to worry about that stink just for a second until it's burned up. So it doesn't. That's all that was for. It was just a neat way. Well, the people made a religious act out of it. To go through this. A lot of people made a lot of money on this burial stuff. I mean, tons of money. Some of those guys got rich. I know a very wealthy man in San Jose, California, that his father did this for life, and then he took over the family business. Well, he was already a multimillionaire just from fixing bodies, putting them in boxes. It's crazy. They loved death. They loved it because it made them a fortune. So anyway, our flesh is nothing, and now we're in God. Going to the next stage. Now, how long is that going to take? I don't know. God hasn't given me that time frame. But figure this: all the pressure has to come out of that magma before it'll ever start cooling down. So this could take thousands of years. It could even take 1,000,000. I don't know. It doesn't really make any difference whether it takes 1,000 years or 1,000,000 years. We're going to be in God as thoughts, not knowing what's going on, because we can't experience life until we're in a body. So we're actually just laying dormant within God, and God does too, because we are God. We are all part of God. We're all dormant in God. Now God, of course, created everything, but He was able to see it somehow. Now that I don't know how He planned, and nobody was around when that was made. Okay, and that could have taken trillions and trillions of years for Him to do this, because He's infinite. He's timeless. We can't register it in years. So we can't register this time from the time we die in this flesh until we wake up in a new body. We don't know that time, so it doesn't really concern us. But when this earth cools back down, and all that moisture, all the water that was pushed out to the outer atmosphere, the air is cool enough where the water can fall to the ground. Of course, then it's going to cool the ground off much faster. So that'll cool off the air quickly, and then the rest of the water will stay out there as frozen ice crystals. Now, there was a globe of ice crystals around this earth before the flood, and that's what caused the flood. Was Noah spoke the word to have this flood happen, and the air superheated somehow. Now I don't know how yet. I haven't been told that. Maybe we'll learn that in the next stage. But he superheated the air so that those ice crystals melted rapidly, and it rained to the earth, and that's what caused the flood. So this globe is going to be back out there again. This globe is our protection from the ultraviolet rays of the sun. We have to have it, otherwise our skin won't be able to handle it. So he's going to make our bodies in a way that will never deteriorate. And with this globe out there, it will never die. Our flesh will never ever again die. And then this globe is going to be used for a light bulb, because the sun and the moon and the stars reflecting their light on it will cause it to just be a lit up ball of a globe, just like a light bulb. So it doesn't matter what side of the earth we are. There'll be a little brighter side where the sun is during the day, but then a little bit dim, but it's still going to be bright enough so we're always in the light. We'll never be in the dark on earth again, ever. And the reason why, we're not going to have electricity. Now I'll get to that, but there's a lot of stuff that aren't going to be in the next age that we had in this age. So everything that we had in this age, the buildings, the cars, the jets, even the electricity and the plumbing, everything that we had was all deception. It's all deception. All planned out by God just to keep us in deception, thinking that this was life. This is the way life is. No, not. In the next age, all that's going to be gone. When the new earth, when the rain comes down, it'll fill up all the new cracks. It'll create a new climate. The new climate will be perfect like it was in the beginning. And then, of course, the grass and the plants and shrubs and all the things, all the vegetation that God's going to need for us for food, because He's going to feed us. We don't have to cultivate our own crops anymore. He's going to feed us. So there's going to be a lot of vegetation. I expect it to be like a jungle, similar to a jungle, but all fruited, all has everything we need to eat and nourish ourselves with. And then we're going to be, we'll have water, perfect water, cleansed. Everything on this earth will be re-cleansed. All the pollutants that the man had put in this earth will be all clean, because the water is going to evaporate and leave all the bad stuff out of the water on the earth, and that'll be back into the lava. The air will be superheated, so that'll all be purified. We'll get all new ground, so with none of man's fertilizers and chemicals and stuff spilt on it anymore, because man's never going to work for another man again. So we're not going to have business as usual, like we knew it here. Just picture yourself back in the couple hundred years ago, before any of these mechanical things were built. Just people with horses, basically, with an animal, and they went out and survived on the ground. But they had to make their own food. They had to go hunting, they had to cultivate, they had to do things to eat. We don't have to do that. So we're not going to be working for anybody. We're not even going to really work for ourselves, except pick fruit off the tree. So God has it all planned out. It's just going to be a life of O'Reilly, if you want to call it that. A very peaceful existence. Everybody's going to be joyful, because we don't have to. All we have to do is live. We just have to live according to God's plans. And He's planning a great life for us. Everybody's going to have a good life. It's not going to be this up and down. Somebody's rich, somebody's poor, somebody's sick, somebody's very healthy. None of that. We're all going to be that way. Okay, now the first people on earth, the first bodies, will be formed for the Word. Those of us who spoke for God in this age. Because He needs the knowledge, He needs us to form a new vocabulary and language. Because we won't have any memory of any language in our minds, in our brains, I should say. So we'll wake up and won't be able to talk to each other. I mean, it's going to be we won't have fear, but because we have this knowledge, but it's going to be awkward, very, very awkward. Have all these thousands of people looking at each other, not being able to communicate. But then this knowledge will start teaching us right away. It'll let us know who we are, where we came from, what our purpose is there. Now it won't be in a language form, because we won't have a language. But God can give us understanding, just from the truth. Just you know it. You just know things. So we're going to know to form a new vocabulary. And we'll probably start out by naming each other. You know, you're Joe, you're Fred, I'm Leroy. It doesn't, I'm Brad. Doesn't matter. Whatever names. But when we form those names, God will help us. He will teach us how to say that name, because He'll want us speaking a unified language that everybody can understand. So He's going to guide our lips, our tongue, for each word. So He's going to actually do all the work. All we have to do is make the effort. He's going to guide our bodies to do this. And that's what this knowledge is for. That's how critical it was to have that first age. Because without that, He'd have all these bodies wake up with nothing. Absolutely nothing. He'd have to, I don't know how He would do it. I really don't. Because it would be too many of us. It would take us 100 years to learn a vocabulary and language. So we have to learn this language and vocabulary pretty quick. So with all us people together and with the knowledge, we'll be able to put it together pretty fast. Now I don't know how long that's going to take either, but it will take some time. And once we get this language together, then God will start revealing more knowledge to us as we speak to each other. Because God cannot speak without a language. He's got to have a vocabulary and a language in order so we can speak, and then He can interject His knowledge in that spoken words. So His knowledge is the truth, and the words we speak will be will be words that everybody will speak, a language. So the truth will be in that language, and that's how it will be done. And so we can all understand it. And then, so when we teach this to the other people that are going to be reborn on earth, then they'll understand it. There'll be young kids when they start to learn this, and by the time they're adults, they'll have it together, just like we do it today. But instead of having I don't know how many languages. We got thousands of languages, I think. But and dialects, we won't have that. It's just going to be one language forever, because it was the enemy of God, the flesh of man, that formed all these different languages out of pride. So that won't happen again. God is in total control of the next age. So this language will be pure. It'll never ever be corrupted by man, by the sin nature, because we're going to be born. We're going to have flesh that doesn't have these genetic sin traits in our DNA. It won't affect there won't be anything there to affect our thoughts, our created thoughts. So we'll always know the truth. We'll always understand who God is, and that's His love. The love of God is knowledge, and that'll be pure love. No selfishness in it, no expectations, like we did in this age. And you talk to people about God's love in this age, and they have no idea. Oh yeah, we love God, we love God. No, they don't. They don't even know what the love of God is. They will in paradise, but this age they can't. They can't understand it until you have it in you, and then, of course, then you realize what the love of knowledge is. And the love of God is just removes fear. It's just a replacement of fear. That's all it is. So in the next stage, we won't have any fear whatsoever. We won't fear somebody when we walk up to talk to them. We'll both be able to speak the same language together, so there won't be any fear. Nothing to fear. We won't have the sin of lust, so we won't fear our bodies. So we'll be nude all the time. We won't need clothes. So we're not going to need business whatsoever to make clothes. We won't need business to produce food, because food is given to us. We won't need money, because there won't be any greed. There won't be any sin of greed or envy or jealousy. So this will, we don't need money. Just period. No money whatsoever. We won't need banks, lawyers, doctors and nurses and things like that. Because our bodies, it's not that our bodies are going to be so much different and tougher, but God won't write anybody's, when He planned for people to live in the next stage, nobody's going to get injured, nobody's going to get killed, nothing, because it isn't in God's plans. When we got injured in this age, it was because God planned for that to happen. So when somebody got killed in a car accident, God planned it. That was in God's plans for that person to get killed. Okay? Now I had a father, my first father was killed in a car accident. I had a brother that was 13 that was killed in a gun accident. A bullet hit him in the face. I mean, where'd that come from? A random bullet hit him in the face and killed him dead. See, that was God's plan. He wanted him to die at that moment for me. He was showing me that this is a random earth. This is that things just happen that can't be blamed on anybody. And I had several things that happened after that. A lot of it I tried to blame myself, but now I know the truth. God put it all in His plans. So in the next stage, everything will be planned out all different for us. We'll never have any of these things that cause us fear and strife and struggles. Never be depressed. Never hate people. Never anger. All that's going to be gone from our flesh. We'll be living in the Spirit of God, always in peace, always in joy. And man, is that going to be fun to be around people like that? We just can all laugh together. We can all just play together and enjoy the love of God, rather than fear each other or what's going to come out of it. So now, after we get this vocabulary and language done, ready, and God starts revealing more knowledge, He's going to teach us that there's going to be a whole lot of people coming. He's going to fill the world with people. And that we're going to be the people, the go-to people. We're going to be the rulers on the earth. And all these rest of these people are the created men. And they were created both male and female within God. Now that's in thoughts, okay? And we didn't notice this in this age because we didn't have men being born with two bodies in this age. But in the next age, they're going to be reborn into paradise with two bodies of the opposite sex. male and female. And that man is one person. One person. They were created together to be of one flesh. And they will be partners for the rest of eternity. Nobody can take them apart. It's impossible. It'll be impossible. So there won't be any divorce in paradise. And that's what Jesus was telling the Pharisees who were asking about divorce and marriage. And Jesus told them, well, what God has put us. Now I can't even remember exactly how that phrase goes. But what God put together, let no man put asunder. But he was talking about the future, not about this age, and that totally confused the Pharisees who wanted a fleshly answer. But Jesus was telling them about the next age, because he knew, he had God's knowledge about all the stuff that's going to happen in paradise, all the things I've been learning. So God is in absolute total control of everything that's ever happened up to this point, in control of this destruction, and in control of paradise for eternity. And he knows that he will fill his world, and he designed the world to just the right size for all his people to exist. He knows exactly what's going to go on in the next earth. So there's nothing to be concerned about. We'll just live our life and enjoy it. And so when he gets this, when he starts giving this knowledge of what's going to be happening in paradise, then he's going to let us know that there will be another adult couple besides us that will be formed. Now, I don't know if we're going to be right there to see it. I'm hoping that would be the way it is. But there's going to be a form. Maybe we're going to be there. Maybe we'll speak it into existence. I don't know. But there'll be a new couple formed, and it'll be like Adam and Eve from this age. And they'll be the first people, the first parents. Because none of us in the Word will get married or have children. We can't. We're eunuchs. We won't be made to function. We won't have probably won't have sexual organs to even use for that purpose. We'll be eunuchs, so we don't have to worry about that. But this first couple will be the beginning of rebirthing God's new people into the world. So it's going to take a while to repopulate the earth, because there's billions of people that are going to make it on this earth. But this, this new couple will be, they'll still be around when all the people are reborn. So they'll be grandparents of everybody. Isn't that something? It just kind of blows my mind to think about that. But so when a new couple, when these new kids are born, new babies, they'll grow up, they'll learn the language, and then they'll start helping produce God's new children, and that's how it's going to work. So right away it's going to be slow, but over time it's going to rapidly build, real rapidly, because there's no death. No babies are going to die in birth, and they're going to be born two at a time. I mean, it's going to go fast. So, yeah, this is incredible stuff. And the first time I started learning this, I was so excited to learn it. And I just couldn't wait to tell people. And everybody I was telling it to, most people didn't believe it. And it's so frustrating that people won't believe it because of pride, because they don't know it, so they won't listen to it. But I'm hoping there'll be somebody out there that will be glad to hear this and know that God's in control of everything, and that you don't have to worry about your life, because you're going to live forever. Forever. You're never going to die. And there's so many things that we're going to be blessed with there. And well, just for the fact that nobody's going to die is a blessing, because you won't ever have sadness, no sorrow. You know, you won't have to feel guilty because you left somebody next to the pool or something. It just, you can sit here and think forever just about all the possibilities that aren't going to be there in the next age that we're here in this age. So we won't have nothing to worry about in our futures. You know, just money alone. Think of not having to deal with money. Whenever you're hungry, just go pick a pear off the tree and eat it. Oh, I'm satisfied. I feel good now. I'm ready for the rest of the day. You know, that's the way it's going to be. So now, this time limit between the time we die till the time we wake up in a new body. Now, some of the, you know, most of you will be reborn. Okay, so you're going to just grow into this all of a sudden awareness. You're going to, you know, you're aware of things. So you won't really notice it. And that's why this is called eternal life for those of us God used, because we're going to go, when we die, we don't experience time or life. And we wake up instantly in a new body, in a new adult body. Where are we? Okay, but we'll know that we're alive because we have the knowledge. We have the knowledge of God. That's the difference. That's the eternal life. We have eternal life. We won't miss. We'll know we came from another age from this knowledge, and we're going to teach everybody. Everybody's going to know eventually that we came from this age, you know, and then you know, that they went through a deception period and things like that. They won't understand it anyway, but because nobody's going to have any memory of it. So it's not going to be a big deal to us. Yeah, well, we came from another world. So what? There's people saying that now. We came from other worlds. You know, oh really? You know, it's no big deal. You know, we're living because of God. We're not living because of us. And if you can get it in your mind that He's in control of everything, you're going to be much better off. Just that alone gives you a little bit of peace and hope. And we're headed for a great age. And you know, an age that we never die. That just, to me, it just brings tears to my eyes and gives me joy just to think about that. Because I lost a lot during this age. You know, I lost a lot of people in my life, and at a young age. And so I'm ready for the next life. And that's all I want to say. I just want to tell you that that's what's coming, and expect it to happen, because we are in God and we always will be. Okay? Thank you. We'll talk to you later.